Cevre Güven is the managing editor of Nokta, a small Turkish political magazine. This is the morning of his trial. He faces 24 years in jail for inciting armed rebellion and insulting the president. He's already served 2 months of pre-trial detention in solitary confinement.
Hey, how are you doing? You okay? How are you feeling?
Yine davayı uzatırlar diye düşünüyorum. Hafif bir tedirginlik var ama iyiyim.
Okay, well bye, we'll see you afterwards. Do you think you can really simply explain the charges facing Cevre?
Kapak'tan halkı silahlı isyan teşvikten ve Cumhurbaşkanı hakaretten şey yapıldı. Savcı
Türkiye Cumhuriyeti Hükümeti'ni
devirmek, silahlı isyan teşvik devirmek.
Şimdi 7 Haziran bu bir seçimden sonraki bir günle ilgili bir takvim yaprağı. O seçimden sonra yani 7 Haziran seçimlerinden sonra çözüm süreci yok oldu. Milliyetçilik rüzgarları esti ve 200'e yakın güvenlik görevlisi hayatını kaybetti ve yüzlerce de sivil hayatını kaybetti. Bu seçimden sonra Türkiye böyle bir atmosfere girince ikinci bir seçimden sonra bu gerilim devam ederse Türkiye bir iç savaşa doğru sürüklenir üzerine bir analiz yaptı. Bu dava süreçlerini ben mümkün olduğunca uzatmak istediklerini düşünüyorum. Ve bu sizin üzerinizde sürekli bir otosansür baskısı olarak devam ediyor. Tam olarak da yapmak istedikleri şey bu korku ikliminin devam etmesi.
Cevre is one of almost 2,000 people who's been arrested for insulting Erdoğan since he was elected president last August. Now these are human rights activists, they're lawyers, they're journalists. There's also been at least 2 teenagers arrested for their Facebook posts.
Newspapers and television networks have also sustained a wave of closures and takeovers. Zaman, Turkey's largest circulation newspaper, was taken under state control in March. Its management were accused of supporting a coup plot.
So increasingly, it feels though criticism of the government, and particularly of Erdoğan, is being treated as a threat to national security. And for many journalists in Turkey, it feels like free speech is being rebranded as terrorism.
Nokta is now one of the only political magazines in Turkey. Its website has been shut down 5 times, and it's had to change its publisher 10 times. Its print run has dropped to just a couple of thousand a week as fewer and fewer kiosks are willing to stock it. But for now, the magazine is still running, and today is print day.
So talk me through this cover.
Bu kapağımızda Rıza Zarrab görünen
Oh
kişi.
yes.
Şu an Amerika Birleşik Devletleri'nde tutuklu durumda. Yani ana akım medya diyeceğimiz ya da işte şu an Türkiye'de büyük medya grupları için Rıza Zarrab konusuna girmek tehlikeli bir şey.
Like the 2 covers that you're currently facing charges for have Erdoğan on the cover. Do you now think very hard, think twice about using him on any future covers?
Yani çok iyi bir haber yakalarsak dayanamayıp yine koyarız diye düşünüyorum. Ama yani birazcık denge yaptığımızda söyleyebilirim.
Perihan Magden is Nokta's most high-profile columnist. She's an outspoken advocate for Kurdish rights and one of several journalists who's been charged with threatening Turkey's unity.
How many people do you think will continue to report opposition news despite the risks? Do you think people will stop reporting?
They stopped reporting also because there is no place for them to write now. Many columnists I know. So they are jobless, but they are doing whatever they can. We are not going to shut up. This is our country, you know. I'm not planning to emigrate to America. And we deserve Western standard of democracy, not this Mickey Mouse smudge that Erdoğan is trying to push to our faces.
But not all Turkish journalists are critical of the president. A large number believe his crackdown on dissent is justified by major security threats. The Kurdish militants fighting a bloody civil war in the southeast, but also Fethullah Gulen, a spiritual leader in exile who to Erdoğan and his supporters is a terrorist attempting to overthrow the government using a shadowy network of influential supporters.
There is an elite in Turkey who wants to get rid of Erdoğan, and
You're talking about the Gulen movement.
yeah.
When you see a journalist like Cevdet Güven, who's the managing editor of Nokta, being tried as a terrorist for a magazine cover, I mean, do you think that's an intrusion on freedom of speech?
So I think we have to define who are terrorists or who are not. And
So
if
someone like Cevdet Güven, who has put a magazine cover together, could be a terrorist.
yes, of course. Look, I'm not saying that they were definitely terrorists, but what they did or what they allegedly did was a terrorism act. They threatened the national security, they threatened the democratically elected government.
In the weeks before Cevret's trial, the Turkish Prime Minister stepped down, apparently against his will, and was replaced by an Erdoğan loyalist. Turkey moved one step closer toward the presidential system the president wants in place. Cevdet has been trying to keep his family life as normal as he can with the threat of a long prison sentence hanging over him.
So what do your children understand about you being in prison? Do they understand that you went to prison?
Şöyle, yani Nihal'e söylemedik. Zaten Ali küçük olduğu için o anlayacak çağda değil.
Have you thought about what you would have to say if you were actually sent back to prison for a longer period of time?
Aynı durumun tekrarlanacağını yani pek düşünmek istemiyorum açıkçası. Yani bilmiyorum, o zaman bir şey düşünürüz ama şu an böyle güzel. Bunun tadını çıkarmak güzel. Pek düşünmedim onu.
For your wife, do you think she would rather you take the risk or not?
Ya tam olarak bu riski almamı istemiyor çünkü ama ya benim için toplumun çok umursayıp umursamamasının bir önemi yok. Ben sadece doğru bildiğim şeyi yapıyorum. Başka da bir iş de yapamam zaten.
Can Dündar, the editor-in-chief of Cumhuriyet newspaper, is probably Erdoğan's most prominent media critic. He was recently shot at outside a courthouse by a gunman who called him a traitor.
Şu anda bir müdahale var Can Dündar'a.
Luckily for him, the gunman missed.
So when I came in this morning, I was pretty surprised to see the same sort of security that they have in an airport, checking of the passport, x-ray machines.
That's right.
I spoke to some journalists who are more sympathetic to the government position.
Oh yeah.
And they told me that you are actually pro-Assad.
They are trying to find something to accuse me for being a spy or trying to topple up the government or being a part of a member of a secret organization, terrorist organization, etc. They tried everything, every kind of accusation.
A lot of the opposition to Erdoğan is described as being a threat because it's working in the interests of the Gulen movement.
That's right, yeah.
Is the Gulen movement a threat to Turkey in general?
Now the Gulen movement has been smashed, I guess, by Erdoğan. That's why they are not so dangerous as before. But Erdoğan is much more a threat for all of us, really, because he has the power and he was poisoned by his power. He's becoming a dictator.
Are you frustrated by the lack of criticism from European leaders?
Of course, we are disappointed a lot. What's funny was I was in prison when Miss Merkel visiting Turkey, and Turkish Prime Minister was saying that there's no journalists in Turkish prisons. And I was a journalist watching TV in a prison, in a cell, in solitary confinement, and trying to shout, "Look, I'm here!" And Miss Merkel didn't say anything at all. Turkey has never been a paradise for journalists, but not a hell like this.
Turkey's courts are the theatre in which Erdoğan's crackdown on dissent is being played out, and they are getting busier and busier, not just with journalists, academics, and human rights activists, but increasingly with average Turks. There are currently 36 journalists being held in Turkish prisons on various security and insult charges. Today, it looks like Chevre won't be joining them.
What happened?
But he walks free with the very real threat that he might be soon.
Hakim direkt karşısına almadan sadece avukatımızı içeri çağırarak bizim davamızı Ekim ayına erteledi.
And what now? What are you going to do now? Back to the office?
Evet, şimdi ofise dönüp bir dahaki sayının hazırlıklarına başlayacağız. Bütün gazeteciler buradan böyle çıkıyor işte. Canlar şurada saldırıya uğradılar. Böyle işte gazetecilerin kaderi Türkiye'de. Tamam.
أنا المقدم محمد فارس رائد الفضاء العربي السوري أعلمكم بأننا نمر لأول مرة فوق سماء بلادنا الحبيبة سوريا